shortly after I turned 7 years old, I was coming home from school one day, and I heard a big commotion upstairs where we lived. And to my surprise, where it wasn't to my total surprise, it was my mom. She was fighting a lady upstairs. I can remember it. I can remember it like plain as day. She was fighting this lady, and she had the lady in the headlock. Out, she had pummeled the lady, and she was trying to throw the lady over the stairs, telling the lady she was gonna kill her. If it wasn't for some concerned citizens on our block, she probably would have carried out that ruthless act. Anyhow, growing up, I saw my mama indulge in a lot of violence. She was fighting a lot. I saw her blooded, and I saw her blooded people. But after so many times of her going to jail, because before I turned 7 years old, my mom had been to jail so much I thought I was an orphan, because she was always fighting people. She would fight the police. She was fighting my dad. She would fight anybody that wanted to fight. I was taken to the jailhouse to see her one weekend, and holding her hand through the bars was a sad thing for me and her. But she told me one thing: you got to fight for yourself. You always got to fight for yourself. And by the time I got to the 3rd or 4th grade, I was so violent. I mean, I was really, really violent, to the point of one day we was out on PE. The coach blew the whistle. After he blew the whistle, play supposed to stop. This guy, he took me and he slung me down. And where he slung me down, it was close to a tree, and I ended up hitting some roots or whatever. But I was furious. I waited for him up at our class. Me and him shared the same 4th grade class, I remember. And I was late going in, and he was late going in, but I was waiting for him. And when I was standing up to the top of the stairs, as he came up, I was taunting him, telling him to come on and get this. And when he got in arm's reach, I hauled off and slapped him as hard as I could. And the school was so old that we was in, you could hear his scream. But more than anything that shocked me, when I slapped him, it was blood all over the wall. I was told to go to I was written up. I was told to go to the principal office. I didn't take that to the principal office. I ran off campus and went and got my mom, and she stuck up for me, and she told me to always fight for myself. Always fight for myself. Anyhow, the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, in Cape Canaveral, Florida, is where the rocket ship blasts off to the moon. In Tallahassee is where dope boys and Chevys blast off to the moon. And after a long night with Big Booty Tamika, my spaceship landed. I went to a friend's house before I headed to my destination. I had a Tic-9 submachine gun that I kept in the attic. It had got a little dusty or whatever. I kept in the attic. Rest in peace to my good friend that let me use an attic for a storage area for about 18 months. I took it down. I went up under the hood of the car. I stashed it in the breather. Took everything and, made sure everything was straight and nice and tight. And I went to where I was going. When I got to my destination, I saw my homeboy, and he was waving on me. Hey man, hey. I had kind of like a headache. I remember having a headache. And he jumped in. I said, what's going on? He was like, man, they tried me while you was gone, man. They tried me while you were gone. I said, who tried you? I told you, man, about dealing with these people, but, he was like my little homeboy. Again, I have never been the type of individual to actually start a melee. Either I'm helping somebody or somebody trying to push me around. So I went to my friend's house. I had a can of WD-40. I told him I needed him to clean the thing up. He cleaned the thing up, and while he was cleaning it up, me and my homeboy went searching for these people who was trying to push him over while I was gone in Tallahassee. So we went to a certain spot and we saw them, made contact with him. He said, there go the guy sitting in the car, the one driving. So By now, my homeboy driving and I'm on the passenger side. So I told him to pull up on side on him. So now me and him face to face. So I said, what's up, man? You got a problem with my homeboy? And he was like, what you mean I got a problem with my homeboy? F nigga with the gold in your mouth and da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, I got a problem with your homeboy, whatever. So I say, look, how you want to handle this? And he brandished a pistol. I remember him shaking the pistol in his hand. So I told him, I said, okay, no problem. I told my homeboy, pull off. So now I'm arguing at my homeboy, telling him, you about to get me in trouble, this and that. I told you about these people, or what the case may be, you know? So I bust in the house and told my homeboy to hand it to me. And when he handed it to me, I skinned it, clap, clap, put one in the chamber and drove back around there. And when we drove back around there, he was still sitting in the same place. I got out the car and walked up to him. And needless to say, when he saw what I was brandishing, he almost went into a panic mode. And I just started poking him with the thing. I mean, I didn't slap him with it. If anybody know how a Tech 9 is, it's got the nudge on the end, that protrusion where you can screw a silencer onto it. And that thing, I used that like a bayonet to stab him in the head repeatedly. And I just kept stabbing him in the head with it. Just stabbing him in the head with it, stabbing him in the head. And while I was stabbing him in the head, I took him and opened the car door and drug him out into the streets and just stood over the top of him and just kept stabbing him in the head, stabbing him in the head with it. And for the first time in my life, again, if you follow my channel so far, I never did drugs. I don't drink or nothing like that. I was in a trance. I can actually see the violence in me, and I could see the violence in other people, and I could see when people make mistakes. I actually spazzed out there for a minute. Like I was gone, I was out of my head. The only thing stopped me is when I heard somebody say, you gonna kill him, you gonna kill him, don't kill him. And by that time I was standing over him, and he looked like a mangled body had been ejected from a bad car wreck. So I snapped out of it. I walked away and got into my car. I was all bloody, blood was all over me, obviously in my hands and everything, you know, and I'm arguing at my homeboy. And we left and went to the Gulf of Mexico, right over across the street. I went and washed myself off and took the gun and buried it. Took the clip out, took the bullet out and buried it. And we went on and we left. And during that time, it taught me something from growing up. A few friends would tell me, to ask me why I went so hard. They would ask me why you never stopped fighting. Because one day, and my guy wouldn't mind me name dropping now, Michael Brown, he hit me. And he hit me so hard, and I didn't know that my mama was watching. And she was across the street watching, and I turned around and ran toward her. Not ran, but pretty much walked, but walking fast. And she went in the house and took a butcher knife and cut the extension cord away from the lamp, the only lamp that we had, and she whipped me. She whipped me bad and told me to go back over there and redeem myself. And from that day, I always fought hard. And my friends in the neighborhood would always ask me, why you fight so hard? Because I was scared of my mama. And in the words of Kuklinski Iceman, when he said, it's better to give than receive. And if you hurt somebody, they'll leave you alone.